For a golden age from 1995 to 1997, Meteor Press published a very short run of official Marvel comics in South Africa. As a kid, I managed to collect a few of their published titles before the company vanished into nothingness. For the next 4 episodes on HTP Storytime, we'll be looking at one of the titles I collected, Wolverine. Today we'll be looking at the first part of the unofficial Wolverine vs. Sabretooth story arc, which culminated in one of the most violent comics ever published. Let's go! In 1995, the first ever officially released Marvel comics in South Africa were published by Meteor Press. Now, Marvel comics were often imported by local news agents, but it worked out to be way too expensive to appeal to more than a niche market of collectors. Meteor Press's locally printed releases were about a quarter of the price of the important comic books, and it included special edition books like this embossed X-Men cover, as well as this Spiderman, which had a foil cover, but here I have the second print run edition. So you'll have to use your imagination a bit and just imagine this grey is shiny foil. The first comic book I started collecting was Wolverine, and here we have issue number 1, now almost 30 years old. Technically it was Wolverine volume 2 issue 87 if you were in America. Meteor Press decided to just start releasing the latest American issues in South Africa rather than starting at the actual Wolverine number 1, which was released in like 1987 or something. It's the first of a 4-part semi-story arc that culminates in Wolverine vs. Sabretooth, with each issue featuring a cameo from the Marvel roster of characters. In issue 1 we have Gambit, we have Deadpool appearing in issue 2, Ghost Rider in issue 3, and of course we have Sabretooth in issue 4. As you can see, it went for $5 in 1995, which translates to about 25 tokens at the local arcade, so it was quite an investment for my young self. Looking at the comic, it's pretty crazy to see the clues that we truly are at the very start of Meteor Press's very short 2-year printing run. In the first issue, we only have 3 ads in this whole book. We have a snack chip ad, we have a clothing brand ad, and an ad for the Red Nose Day charity. The rest of the pages all feature ads for the other comic series that Meteor Press had just started releasing. So we really are at the birth of this company. We get a great cover here by artist Adam Kubert, so we're definitely in for a treat. We open on Logan and Gambit roaming the streets of Madripoor. This is the place where the Wolverine comic series first started, so in a sense it's Logan's birthplace. Gambit has come looking for Logan because his old enemy Sabretooth is currently locked up in the X-Men's compound in Salem, New York. The X-Men are off in Israel fighting a world-ending evil, so Gambit is all alone at the mansion with Sabretooth. We see later in the comic book that Sabretooth is kept behind some kind of energy field, and the Psycho is constantly trying to escape. I don't know, he just doesn't seem to be a great housemate. Gambit is hoping to convince Logan to come back to the mansion, to come help him look after this absolute maniac. Logan's feelings are basically, hey, it's not my circus, it's not my monkeys. His advice is, you ought to just take him out fishing one dark night and lose him. When they get outside the bar, they realize things are quiet. Too quiet. Now what would you do, dear viewer, if you head down to your local pub and you see all the lights are off and it's quiet inside? You'd just leave, right? Maybe you'd peep through the window like a weirdo, you know. Not these two. They just smash through the window, baby. It turns out all of Logan's old friends had planned a surprise party for him, with cake and everything. This guy sums it up perfectly. You know, we don't generally start busting up the furniture until dawn, but hey, it's your party. Logan apologizes for smashing into the bar and starts introducing his friend Gambit, but we learn everyone already knows him. As he puts it, "I'm no stranger around here, Logan. Leastways not to La Belle de la Nuit, or the beauties of the night to non-French speakers. Our Gambit sure is a man about town." We meet a bunch of characters from Logan's past, which would have made perfect sense if you read the comics from years before. But since this would be the first time we all see these characters as readers in South Africa, we kind of just have to fill in the blanks ourselves. And I have to give them credit for attention to detail here with the local releases. Usually in comic books, they would put a reference issue in a yellow box. But for this print, they actually blanked out any references to prior issues that the reader obviously would not have access to. The catch-up with strangers ends with Wolverine cutting a rug with a lady named Tiger. I would not have taken Wolverine for a dancer, so hey, we're all learning stuff here in this first issue. Cut to two ninjas sitting on the roof watching Wolverine's reunion. They were apparently sent by local crime families who all have a bone to pick with Wolverine. As they plan their assassination of Logan, we hear another voice speak. Some mystery man is on the rooftops with them, also staking out Logan. They try to take out the mystery man quietly, but as he points out, you just sacrifice speed and accuracy for stealth, and that's a loser's trade-off. We get a crazy scene as the ninjas come crashing through the skylight. Wolverine unsheathes his claws, slashes both ninjas as they are falling, and catches his partner and makes the dip all in one smooth motion. Despite his distractions, Gambit is very impressed. I want to point out La Belle de la Nuit have been dressing very spicy so far, but not these two. They are wearing a jersey and a fur coat. Guys, come on. This bar's vibe check is all over the place. Logan and Gambit head to the rooftop to see what caused the dead men to drop through the skylights. The scent the gunman left behind reminds Wolverine of Sabretooth. It triggers a flashback scene where we see Logan, Sabretooth, and their partner, a guy called Maverick, when the three work together as part of Team X. Sabretooth gets injured during the mission and Logan saves his life by picking him up and carrying him, against the advice of Maverick, who just wanted to put a bullet in him. They get to their only escape route, a rickety bridge. At this point, Sabretooth wakes up and says, "I ain't crossing that rinky-dink bridge." And he blows up their only escape route. Instead of risking his life on that bridge, he would much rather take his chances shooting his way out. He says, "Are you boys going to follow me, or are you just going to curl up and die in place?" Well, they don't really have much of a choice now, do they? And another great line here that's always stuck with me. "I might just bust the gut laughing if I don't bleed out first." So with this flashback, we learn a bit about Sabretooth's personality. It's not really as black and white as Wolverine is the hero and Sabretooth is the villain. You know, it's not just that good guy, bad guy dichotomy. He's acting like a maniac, but it's also a little bit cool, you know? He's kind of a guy you'd want in your corner. Well, you know, debatably. Back to the present time, the rooftop. There's a major piece of foreshadowing here with what's to come in the following comic books, with Wolverine saying about Sabretooth, "He's got the sheer guts and total lack of fear to try some nigh impossible things and pull them off. Gambit gets a bit snarky here when he can't seem to convince Logan to come back to Salem with him. It shows just how unsettled Sabretooth has left him, as he comments that Logan cares more about his own personal agendas than he does his friends. And this gets under Logan's skin for sure, it hits a bit of a nerve. And another great line referring to Sabretooth. Old Mr. Creed wouldn't spit in your face if your nose was on fire. I still use that today. But the time for catch up and hurting each other's feelings is over. The mysterious rooftop shooter reveals himself as Logan saves Gambit in the nick of time. The two give chase over the rooftops. The gunman drops smoke grenades to conceal himself and doubles back to try and take out the heroes one by one. But Wolverine is just too good, baby. He disarms the gunman and he says, "Let's see what you look like under the cape and cowl, bub. I hope you ain't no psycho millionaire with a utility belt." It's revealed that the mystery man is none other than Maverick, the character from the flashback earlier. He's pretty dramatic here and shits on Logan a bit, saying, "You're not what you used to be, Logan, but then again, who is in these bitter times?" Gambit tries to help, but Logan tells him to back off. Logan pursues Maverick and lays out the situation for him. "You had best start shooting if you have a mind to, because I'm going to dodge the first few, and I can take half a dozen solid hits before I go down to my knees. But you know that won't stop me. I just crawl, and when I couldn't crawl no more, I just slither along like some mean old diamondback, till I was looking you dead in the eye, straight down into your heart." Logan knows this whole situation is a bit fishy. This guy used to be his friend and now he's attacking him for no apparent reason. And he isn't trying very hard to kill Wolverine. And as it turns out, Wolverine's hunch is right. Maverick was only trying to antagonize Logan so that he kills him. Maverick reveals he has contracted the legacy virus and is dying a slow, painful death. The legacy virus is part of a storyline in the X-Men comics. I'm not going to go into the details of it, but basically the legacy virus was a bit of a metaphor for another virus that was worrying people in the 90s. I mean, the parallels are all there. Maverick was hoping Logan would help him get a warrior's death, instead of him just wasting away into nothingness. Wolverine is pretty pissed that his friend tried to trick him into killing him, and understandably so. He goes off on this poor dying man. Maverick says, "I wanted to be sent to Valhalla by somebody I respected." To which Wolverine replies, "What am I, a Viking funeral director? You want to go out like a man? Well, you got to take the long walk into darkness, just the same as if you was going to the hardware store. You just do your job. You don't drop out and..." Maverick drops one more snide remark. "Yes, like you've been doing, Logan?" And walks off. As he walks off, Logan has a realization that maybe he should listen to his own speech and go face his responsibilities at home. Gambit says, "Don't let him get to you. He's just trying to hit you back." And Logan replies, "Yeah, but he's doing what he was meant to do. He's hitting home." You can't run from your past, and you can't run from your future. We all have a path to walk, and walk it we must, brother. And there we go, guys. A review of the first locally printed comic book I'd ever purchased. And you can see the condition of this now almost 30-year-old comic book.